Welcome to voters, Brother Brown here. Pre-release is this weekend for the brand new set, BT-14 Blast Ace. And as always here at the Cult of Vault, we're here to give you an upper hand on the competition. So we're going to go over some of the best cards you can potentially pull in this set to help you build for your event. So we have a lot of cards to cover, so let's not waste any time and let's dive right into it. So as always, I love to start these lists off with the Tamers, and we're going to start things off with a banger of a Tamer. We got Tai Kamiya. So the nice thing about Tai is, at the start of your main phase, one of your Digimon with Vaccine trait gains 2000 DP. Nice thing about it just being Vaccine is it's not specific to any color, and there are quite a few Digimon with the Vaccine trait in this set, so you are quite likely to get this 2000 DP increase. But the really nice thing is the secondary effect of this card. So your turn, when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, you can suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. So this rewards you for being aggressive. It's something that you can proc. It doesn't matter what you pull, you can proc this just by swinging into your opponent. So no matter what you pull, you get this guy, you're definitely running him. Very good Tamer. Up next, we got Joe Kiddo. So Joe has the effect on play. You can trash 1 Digivolution card from underneath one of your opponent's Digimon. What's really nice about Joe is while previous evolution source stripping effects usually would say top or bottom source, this is any. So you get to pick and get rid of any sort of annoying inheritable you don't want to deal with, which can be super beneficial. And then he has a nice little bonus effect of when a card is trashed from underneath one of your opponent's Digimon, you can suspend his Tamer to gain 1 memory. So he already comes out essentially at 2 costs, which is very nice. And there are some really good blue cards that will synergize well with this effect and allow it to proc multiple times. So you pull a lot of blue Digimon, definitely something to consider, as well as just being able to play some of the blue options in this set. There are some really good ones in here, which we will go over later on in the video. So next up we have Mimi. Not the greatest Tamer in this set, but still, depending on what you pull, can be something you want to consider. So she has the effect on play, reveal top 3, add a Digimon with plant, vegetation, or fairy traits to your hand. It's a little bit of a specific condition for the search, but something that can come up depending on what you pull. And then she has a nice little secondary effect of when a Digimon becomes submitted by effect, by suspending this Tamer, you can gain 1 memory. So a lot of these green cards, they do have an effect that will suspend a Digimon, either your own or your opponent's. So if you pull a lot of green cards, this is something you may want to consider to put in your deck. Then following up with some of the best Tamers I think we have are these 2 next ones. Starting off with Satsuki. Nice thing about her is she has the great effect of start of your main phase. If your opponent has a Digimon, gain 1 memory. Any sort of memory gain that we can get in these events are worth playing, no matter what. So alone, if this is all she did, you would play her regardless. But she has a nice little secondary effect, again, depending on what you pull, it can come up. So she has this new effect called, with this new keyword called Mind Link. So you can link this to one of your Digimon with Numemon, Monzemon in its name, or Digipolice in the traits. And basically it's going to go underneath your Digimon as if it was a source. And it's going to give those Digimon a nice little inheritable effect of either giving those Digimon jamming and reboot. So potentially being able to swing without having to worry about it getting killed in security. And then at the end of the turn, you can play her back from your sources back on the field, so you don't have to worry about losing out on that memory at the start of your main phase. So really nice, and there's a really nice combo with another card in this set that I will go over once we get to the level 4s. And then following up, we have Edgy with the same effect. Start a main phase. If your opponent has a Digimon, gain a memory, as well as Mind Link, but instead of the Digipolice and Muzimon and Numemon, it's with a dark animal or an SOC in its traits. So if you pull a couple of those, definitely can Mind Link up there and get the bonuses from there. And he's going to give those Digimon either the Alliance or Blocker keywords. So Alliance can be nice to be able to beef up your Digimon and make them strong to pretty much swing over anything depending on what you can get suspend to get out of it. And Blocker's always nice in these kind of events. And then of course the same thing, end of turn you can just play them out of your source and keep that extra gain 1 memory effect on your opponent's turn. So quite nice. Then last but not least, to finish off the Tamers, we have Gennani, the old man from the first season. And he has a decent little effect. So on play, you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. You can add 1 level 3 Digimon card and 1 non-white Tamer to your hand. So getting a rookie, digging through your deck, it's always nice. It's not the most specific search, so it's more likely to proc, which is also nice. And his secondary effect's quite good. On your opponent's turn, when an opponent's level 5 or higher Digimon attacks, you can suspend this guy to move one of your Digimon out of your breeding into the battle area. So this could potentially help you cycle through your deck a lot easier by pushing out and just making a little more momentum and punishing your opponent for swinging with their stronger Digimon. So it is quite nice. So let's move on to level 3s, starting off with Gizamon. And Gizamon has the effect of when attacking once per turn, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. It's a great way to do some crowd control, delete something like a level 3. Then next up we have Automatamon, and he has a nice inheritable as well. When opponent's Digimon attacks on your opponent's turn, you can trash the bottom 2 evolution cards from that Digimon. So this is a great way to punish your opponent for going in, being able to get rid of some of their inheritables, like the Gizamon that we just discussed, and just an annoying card for them to deal with that they have to play around. Up next, in my opinion, the best level 3 in this set, and that's going to be Gomamon. Gomamon has the effect of, at the start of the main phase, you can choose 1 evolution card from underneath your opponent's Digimon, then trash it. Then this Digimon can't be blocked for the turn. So no matter what, if you proc this effect, this card's attack is going through. They can't do anything about it. It's gonna get the damage in. And that's not all either. It has a very powerful inheritable as well. When this Digimon would be deleted, you can play the Gomamon from the source without paying the memory cost. So this card becomes very hard to deal with once you evolve on top of it. And it's just going to come back, and then at the start of your turn again, you're going to be able to trash another source, and then this guy can't be blocked. It's always going to go through. Like, I'm telling you, I swear by it. If you get this card, play it. It's a little harder to get because it is a super rare, but it's a game changer. Electmon has the inheritable of when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP. Always welcomed on a Digimon. Kotokugumon. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. These names are getting a little out of hand with Digimon, but he has the effect on play. By suspending one of your Digimon, you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. This is a nice way to proc that Mimi like we talked about. As well, if you have the extra memory to work with, this could be a way to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and then swing in with something a little stronger. So, decent card to play. Following that, we have the next super rare Digimon for the level 3s, and that's going to be Palmon. And Palmon has a nice effect as well. So start of your main phase, one of your opponent's Digimon gains all turns. Well, this Digimon becomes suspended, lose 2 memory. So you can combo this off with some of the other level green cards that you have in the set to make your opponent lose that 2 memory. And this also works on your opponent's turn as well. If they choose to swing in, they're going to have to pay that 2 memory. It works kind of like a mini ice wall in a sense, which is really nice. And then she has the inheritable. When this Digimon would Digivolve, if you have a green Tamer in play, you can reduce the cost by 1. So again, this works well with Mimi. You can then make this, instead of paying maybe 2 costs to evolve this into a level 4, it's a 1 cost. I would play it Kokuwumon, and he has inheritable Blocker. Blocker is always great in these events. Chuchumon, and he has on deletion save, which it's not going to be very relevant in this event, but he does have Blocker in his inheritable, which is always nice. He is a 1 cost to evolve on top of your baby, which in some cases can be a detriment, but it can also help you up sometimes too, because this could be an effective way to potentially memory choke your opponent, especially on turn 1 when, say, you may not have a better play. Just doing this, putting that 1, puts them in a very difficult spot starting off. Following that, we have Gazemon to wrap up the level 3s, and Gazemon has a very simple effect. As an inheritable, on deletion, gain 1 memory. So it's not the most powerful effect, but it can come up. And again, when it comes to level 3s, anything extra is always welcomed in these kind of events. All right, moving on to level 4s, and there is a lot of great ones in this set. Starting off with everyone's favorite chicken from season 1, Kokatorimon. And nice thing about him is he's a 4 to hard play, which cheap level 4s are nice, and has the added effect of jamming, so really nice to make him resistible in case he goes and swings. You don't have to worry about it dying in security. Carrying on that same train of cheap level 4s, and every color has one, which is really nice in this set. Monochromon, and Monochromon has Blocker. Blocker's always useful, and on a cheap Digimon, couldn't ask for anything better. Up next after that, we have Greymon. Now Greymon's really nice. He has the effect of when attacking, this Digimon gets 2000 DP for the turn. Then if you have tie in as well, he gets an extra, you gain an extra memory. So more or less he's here for the extra 2000 DP. So this could potentially make him strong enough to swing pretty much over any level 4 and definitely any level 3. And potentially even crash with some level 5s, which is really nice. And on top of that too, the extra memory you can get if you do pull the tie as well is always warranted. But more or less, you are playing him for the extra 2000 DP. His inheritable, don't even worry about it. It's hardly ever going to come up, if at all. So you're going to be playing him just for the 2000 DP boost. Gessomon. Again, starting the theme with cheap play cost level 4s. He has the effect of, you can choose, when attacking, choose one Digivolution card from underneath your opponent's Digimon and trash it. So this works well with Joe as well. Then, you can return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon with no evolution cards to the owner's hand. That's pretty powerful to be able to deal with some annoying cards, and definitely going to help you out, especially with the Ace Digimon that we'll talk about later on. Going to help you proc those overflow effects. But again, this is a really nice removal and really easy to proc off, because a lot of times in these pre-release, they're just going to be playing a bunch of cheap costs. So they're going to have no evolutions on them anyways. So you can just start picking at their board very, very nicely and very efficiently with this guy. I really like him. Ikakumon. Ikakumon has the effect of, when digivolving, you can choose 2 sources and strip them. Always good. And then the effect, when attacking, once per turn, you can choose one of your opponent's Digimon with either equal or less evolutions than this card, and that Digimon cannot attack. So very nice freezing effect. It's going to be very annoying for your opponent to have to deal with this card, because this can effectively freeze very easily, especially because you're already stripping 2 sources when you evolve onto this thing anyways. So that can come up and just, again, just make you have a upper hand where you're doing damage while your opponent is not. And on top of that, he has the same inheritable as well. So he can make one of your level 5s as well. Just this easy freezing machine. Very reminiscent to something like Blue Hybrid. I really like this card. Gekomon. And nice thing about Gekomon is he has the same inheritable as Otamamon of, on your opponent's turn, when your opponent's Digimon attacks, you strip 2 of their sources. Again, really annoying card. Punishes your opponent for not playing around it, getting rid of the inheritables. Shokomon, everyone's favorite piece of poop. And he is the cheapest level 4 to play at 3 costs, which is always nice to be able to be a stepping stone to some of your higher evolutions. And the really nice thing about this guy is on security. So if this thing gets hit in security, you can play him out without paying the cost. So this is a free body to get damage off of. And then he has a nice little bonus of, as an inheritable, on deletion, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP. So all around, just a really great, solid card. Unimon, and following the trend, cheap level 4 to play, and it has Barrier. Barrier is going to be really useful to protect this guy, and kind of work as like a makeshift jammer as well. So you can swing in with this thing. If it would die in security, you can make it survive by sacrificing one of your own. So it's a nice card. Saturomon, when digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP. Always great to help swing over something that's a little bigger, as well as delete something like a pesty level 3 that's sitting around. And then has an inheritable, same as Electmon. When attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP. So if you have both of them underneath, that will stack. It's very nice. It's annoying because it's going to be happening every time you swing. So another solid card. Kawagamon, and very similar to the chicken, he's a 4 cost that has Jammer. Dokugumon. I might have butchered that pronunciation. My apology to voters, but some of these Digimon names are just too crazy. But what's nice about him is he has the effect on play or when digivolving. You can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then all your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less don't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. So this can be a very nice and annoying floodgate if your opponent went very aggressive with some of his smaller bodies. You can even slap this guy as a hard play and basically lock your opponent out from swinging anymore for that turn, and then be able to have a follow-up with it later. I love these kind of floodgate kind of effects in these events. However, they can be very annoying when you're on the opposite end of them. Namemon, another 3-drop level 4, which is always very nice. But this is the card I talked about before that's going to really combo well with Satsuki. So on play or when digivolving, by placing one Satsuki from your hand as this Digimon's bottom evolution source, it gains Rush. I don't have to tell you, Rush is a phenomenal effect. This is going to potentially be game ending if your opponent has no more securities and you just need that one little bit of damage. If you have the memory to do it, you drop this guy up and swing for game. It's always very powerful. And this is also a nice way to cheat out the Satsuki. So next turn you can mind link it off, and so you get that extra memory when it goes back to your turn. So that's always nice. And as a bonus, as an inheritable, blocker. Oh, you can't ask for anything more. And speaking of blocker, we have Daemon. And Daemon has not only blockers inheritable, but he also has retaliation. And this can be a nice way to have a nice removal option against something that's a threat on the board, maybe like a level 6 that's suspended. You can just get this guy out, swing into it, and just deal with it and not have to worry about it for the rest of the game. Vegemon. So on play or when digivolving, by returning one Digimon card from your opponent's trash to the top of their decks, you gain 1 memory. So you can essentially just play this and it'll be a 3 cost, which on its own is really nice. But what's really nice about this card is the fact that you can stack your opponent's deck, potentially give them something that really isn't going to help them, and in a very simplified game state in the late game, this can be potentially game winning, because if you give them something like a level 6 that was taken out maybe in security earlier on and just put them on, they don't have anything to really build that up to that Digimon, they're sitting with a dead draw. So I really like this card for that reason. Now to wrap up the level 4s, we got the first boss from the original Digimon Season 1, Devimon. So Devimon has the effect on play or when attacking, trash the top 3 cards of your deck. At first glance, this may look like a bad card, especially for a sealed format, but on your turn, this Digimon gets 1,000 DP for every 3 cards in your trash. So in a late game, this guy gets really, really beefy. He already starts off at a 6,000 DP, so even just by digivolving, he's going up to 7k. He can potentially challenge a level 5 just on his own as is. And later on in the game, he can be even potentially taking out like level 6s. So that is really good. Then to finish everything off, he has on deletion. You can trash one of your opponent's cards in their hand without looking. So on top of that, if he is dealt with, you can also rip a card out of your opponent's hand. So it's a very, very useful tool. I really like him. And he's only a rare, so it's not hard to pull. Moving on to the level 5s, and we're starting off with the namesake of the set, Metal Greymon Ace. This is the brand new hand trap mechanic that was introduced in the structure decks actually that just came out not too long ago. This time though, they are level 5s, and no matter what, you pull any one of these guys, you're going to want to play it. So what do these do? So they have the brand new counter keyword as well as blast digivolution. So in the same window, you would be able to choose a block when your opponent goes for a swing. You can declare counter, and it's so long as you have an appropriate target to digivolve on top of, you can do this without paying the cost, which is very powerful to do for a level 5. On top of that, these guys are very cheap to hard play. A 4 cost for a level 5 is unheard of. It's absolutely insane. So you don't even have to digivolve. You can just hard play this for 4, and that's already great. And on top of that too, they both have they get their effects not only when digivolving, but also on play, and they have some very disruptive effects. In the case of Metal Greymon, when on play or when digivolving, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. So very great removal. It can clear out pretty much anything 4 and up, and even a couple of level 5s here and there. However, the way they kind of balance this mechanic is going to be the overflow. So if this card were to be removed in any way at all from the battle area, so if it gets deleted, gets bounced, if it was in sources and it got trashed, you're going to lose 3 memories. So it's something to keep in mind, especially with all this in the blues case, source trashing. You might want to double think if you want to digivolve on top of this guy, because you could potentially set you up to get strip sourced and potentially lose that 3 memory and put yourself in an awkward position. But yeah, but still very, very powerful card. Megdramon, so fairly cheap out for a level 5 at a 6 play cost, but the reason why we added him to this list is his inheritable. When attacking, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less, so similar to the Gizamon, but a little bit of a higher threshold, so you can maybe kill a level 4 with it. Triceramon, the reason why he's in here is he's pretty cheap to evolve. Only 2 costs to evolve on top of a 4, which is very nice, especially when you're trying to build up into those higher boss stacks. But on top of that, he also has Raid, which is a nice little tool because you're able to potentially swing over something that's unsuspended. And yeah, it's just another great removal option. Next is, in my opinion, the most powerfulest Ace Digimon. And I'm not just saying that because I am biased with being a blue player, but I truly believe this is the most powerfulest Ace Digimon in the set. And that's going to be Zudomon. So same thing with Metal Greymon. It has the counter, Blast Evolution, and either on play or when digivolving, you can trash 2 evolution cards from underneath your opponent's Digimon. Then you can return one of your opponent's Digimon with no evolution cards to the hand. This is a fantastic card. You're getting already rid of 2 sources, and then you get a bounce on top of that. Like, and it doesn't care about DP or level. As long as it has no source underneath it, you just get rid of it. This is a fantastic card. I know for me, I really hope to pull one, not just because it's going to be really useful for the event, but I really want this card. Very, very powerful. The best out of the 4. Shogun Gekumon. So he's a blocker, always nice. And then on top of that, all turns and once per turn. When a Digivolution card is stripped from your opponent's Digimon, this guy cannot be deleted in battle. So this works very well in conjunction with the other Digimon in his line, like Gekumon and Otonomon. So if your opponent doesn't play around it, you can strip their sources and basically make this guy a unkillable blocker. As well as you can, if you have a way to strip a source on your turn, you can basically make this guy a jammer, which is very nice. And this card has just a lot of utility. Another very great Ace Digimon in Magna Angemon. I think out of all of them, this is definitely my second favorite. So again, counter, Blast Evolution, and then on player 1 digivolving. If you have 5 or fewer security cards, you get to recover 1, which is great. But then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1,000 DP for every card in your security. So even at the beginning of the game, if you have all your security still intact, you can slap this guy down and be able to minus 6,000 DP on opponent's Digimon. You can delete any level 4s, any level 3s. You can delete a couple of level 5s, or just make something really weak in order to swing into it. Very fantastic card. I mean, even if it just recovered 1, it'd be great. Monzemon. The reason why I added to him is more or less just because of Armor Purge. This is always a very powerful mechanic to have in these sealed formats, just making it a really annoying card to have to deal with, because if you swing, you know you're going to be keeping a Digimon at the end of the day because you're just going to be able to purge out. And this could actually be very disgusting with something like the Gomamon as well, because even if you purge out and they deal with the level 4, you can then play out the Gomamon. So that's a kind of a cool combo that I thought out actually. But the other effect, it can come up, but you're not really getting a whole lot out of. And don't even worry about the inheritable. There is a Numemon that is a level 6 that you could evolve on top of this guy, but I don't think it's very worth playing. I think there are much better options when it comes to the level 6 pool in this set. And now finishing it off with the final ace of the set. Unfortunately, I would say this is probably the weaker of the 4, but it's still very good nonetheless, and that's going to be Lillimon Ace. So on top of the counter and blast evolution, on player when digivolving, you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then you may return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon with 5,000 DP or less to the bottom of the owner's deck. So what's nice about this, as opposed to say the Zudomon, is going to the bottom of the deck is a lot better obviously than to the hand. However, it does have the small restriction of having to be 5,000 DP or less, but it is nice. It is going to work obviously with your other green Digimon, and you know, again, just being able to have that disruption on your opponent's turn is always going to be worth it. Piximon, on player when digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon cannot unsuspend until the end of your opponent's turn. This is again another way to try to disrupt your opponent, try to lock them out from attacking and kind of stall the game when you're trying to say dig or trying to keep yourself from losing that turn if he's at lethal. I mean, this is not even a bad card to hard play at 6 to try to freeze out and try to maybe wait out for next turn to build up into your bigger stack level 6. Kanjamon. So he has piercing. That's always good to try to not only take out a Digimon, but also get into security. And then when digivolving, you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So on top of that, when he digivolves, you already have the setup ready to go to put something in suspension and then swing and then also get that Digimon taken out as well as taking out a security, so you're not losing out on that damage. On the inheritable, don't worry about it. It's never going to come up because having a Leomon as this guy's source, it's not going to happen. Don't even worry about it. Datamon. So his effect, this Digimon can't be lead by your opponent's effects. Sometimes it can come in handy. It's not the most powerful effect, but the nice thing about him, why I added him to the list, is because one, at 6 play cost for a hard cost is pretty cheap, but he's also only a 2 cost to evolve on. So really, I just added him because he is a nice stepping stone. The extra effect, it's just a bonus. It can come up once in a while, but you want to use him primarily for that stepping stone. And then to finish off the level 5s, we got Vademon, and Vademon is a very, very nice level 5. So either on play or when digivolving, you reveal the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon for each Digimon card among them, and then you return the revealed cards from either the top or the bottom of the deck. In these kind of constructed formats, typically you are already going to be playing a high Digimon count. Everyone is. So the likelihood of you revealing 3 Digimon on the top of your opponent's deck is very likely. So you're going to be able to de-digivolve something potentially all the way down to the rookie. That's pretty powerful. Not to mention that, again, you're potentially stacking your opponent's deck and let's say you see something that's really good out of those top 3. You could say, no, I want that at the bottom of the deck. So that way they don't draw into it. So there's a lot of utility with this guy. I really like him, and I think he's going to be a sleeper in this format. So now moving on to the big bosses of the set, the level 6s, starting off with Dino Rexmon. So on Evo, he has Blitz, which is nice, and then he has a nice little floodgate effect. All turns, when your opponent has 1 or more memory, your opponent cannot play a Digimon with 6,000 DP or less, and this Digimon gets an extra 4,000 DP. So this can potentially lock your opponent out of playing any of their rookies or their champion level Digimon, and basically, unless they're at 0, they can't just spam the field with the smaller bodies and try to overwhelm you. They will be able to still evolve on top, so it's something to keep in mind. But this is a nice way to kind of slow things down, and in a simplified game state, this can definitely be a game winner. Plus, the extra boost is always nice as well. Goldramon. So either on play or when digivolving, you get to play 2 tokens. One is a Crimson Flame token that has 6,000 DP and Rush, and then you have a Blue Thunder token that has 6,000 DP and a blocker. So for just Evo on top of this guy, you get not only a Digimon with Rush, but you also get a blocker to protect you. That's very, very powerful. And if they deal with this Digimon at all, so if Goldramon leads the field in any way whatsoever, you'll have to delete both the tokens, but then you get to recover one. So you get that extra bonus as well. So if they don't deal with the Goldramon, they have to deal with potentially 3 checks just by this one card. So this is very powerful, and for being such an easier card to pull, it's only a rare. I think it's definitely deserves a slot in your deck. Plesiomon, the final evolution of Golemon, and has the effect when Digivolving, you can trash 3 evolution cards from underneath your opponent's Digimon. That's the highest we've seen all the set. And then when attacking once per turn, if your opponent does not have a Digimon with equal or more evolution cards than this Digimon in play, you can unsuspend him. So this is very nice to potentially go for game, swing. They don't have anything with more evolutions than this thing. Unsuspend, swing for that last check for game. Definitely a great way to end the game. Marine Angemon, on play or when Digivolving, by returning one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon or one of your own Digimon to your hand, you can return one of your opponent's Digimon with a level less than or equal to the returned Digimon to your hand. That's pretty nice because you can return something like if you have a level 5 already on your board, as well as the Digimon that you're Digivolving on top, you can bounce that level 5 to potentially even bounce one of their aces back. I know that'll potentially put online their Blast evolution, but you'll be also gaining that memory back, so you could potentially make this guy free to evolve into. And even in a very tough situation, you can even hard play this for 11 and just use this as a bounce, and just bounce a level 6, which is really nice. And then he has a little bonus effect of your turn, once per turn, when another Digimon is returned to the hand, recover 1. So by just triggering this effect, if this guy stays on board, you're also getting a recover 1. It's only on your turn, but that's still really, really good as a way to recover and kind of keep you in the game. Seraphimon. So Seraphimon does actually quite a bit. So when Digivolving, recover 1. Again, that's great. Doesn't care how many security you have on board. You could have literally 7. You get to recover, which is nice. But then has this nice added effect. All turns once per turn. When a card is added to your security stack, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 7,000 DP, and this Digimon gets Sec Attack plus 1. So not only are you going to be potentially able to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with that minus DP reduction, but getting an extra Sec Attack can be very, very powerful. Potentially set you up for lethal. Very, very good stuff. Rosemon is next, and Rosemon has the effect of one Digivolving or one attacking. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. Then once per turn, when a Digimon or Tamer becomes suspended by an effect, you may unsuspend this Digimon. So same thing with the Plesiomon. This could be a potential way to potentially go swing, suspend something, and then you can go back into attack, swing again, and potentially go for game. Or even this could be a way to suspend something that you just want to get over, another decent level 6 to go into. And again, it's a rare, so a lot more easier to pull. Saber-Leomon. And Saber-Leomon does have piercing, similar to the Pangemon that we talked about. But what really makes them is the secondary effects here. These are really good. So, when Digivolving, by unsuspending this Digimon, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So if you already swung with your level 5, you can Digivolve and then unsuspend this guy. But then on top of that, you get end of your opponent's turn. This Digimon can attack one of your opponent's Digimon. So what's really nice about this is you can Digivolve, unsuspend, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then if the memory goes past that from evolving, you can then swing into that same Digimon that you suspended, and you'll get the pierce as well as doing damage. It's basically a pseudo blitz. So that's very good. And this is even easier to pull. It's only an uncommon, so it's very likely you'll get this, a very, very powerful boss. Now here's, I think, the sleeper MVP of pre-release. It's gonna be Ibmon, and Ibmon has a pretty nasty effect if you can pull it off effectively. There's a little bit of RNG involved, but this could be a very, very powerful card. So Ibmon has on play or when Digivolving, you reveal the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, delete any number of your opponent's Digimon with a total play cost less than or equal to the play cost of one of the revealed Digimon cards. Then you can return the revealed cards either the top or the bottom. So just imagine if you revealed something like the Seraphimon we talked about. That's a 12 cost. So you can potentially delete 12 cost worth of Digimon off your opponent's field. You're essentially clearing out their whole board. This could be a complete board wipe. That's insane. And on top of that, also being able to rig their draws so they get not the greatest draws to begin with. Very, very powerful. Don't sleep on this guy. I'm telling you, he's going to be a sleeper pick. Up next, we got the new boss for the D Brigade, Brigadramon. And the reason why I added him in here, he is a super rare, so he's hard to pull, but when Digivolving, choose any number of your opponent's Digimon so that their play cost totals is up to 7 and delete them. So again, this can be a potential way to wipe your opponent's board clean. And then on your opponent's turn, all your opponent's Digimon with D Brigade in their traits gain blocker. So he will become a blocker. And then the secondary effect, unless you plan to play a lot of the D Brigade or Digipolice, it's not really going to come up. Unfortunately, you'll have no choice. You'll have to activate this effect because it is end your opponent's turn. So you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can play any number of cards with D Brigade or Digipolice traits up to a total play cost of 7 among them, and then you trash the rest. So keep in mind, you do have to proc this effect, but you could potentially get something like a Numemon off this, and he does count as a Digipolice, so you might get lucky and be able to play him out for free. But other than that, the main reason why we're playing him is for that deletion as well as the blocker that he gives you. And then to finish off everything, we have we have another very powerful, another MVP of the pre-release event, and I think for the format, in my personal opinion, it's going to be Fenrir Lugamon. Now, I know you've noticed with the Tamers, there is no memory setter. Well, you're looking at the memory setter for this event. So what's this guy do? There's a lot of text, so let's go into it. When Digivolving, you can play 1 level 4 or lower card with Dark Animal or SOC traits from your trash without paying the memory cost. So get out a free level 4. But if Edgy is in this Digimon's evolution source, you can add 2 to the maximum number of Digimon you can play with this effect. So you can potentially get 3 Digimon off of this if Edgy's on board as well. So that is a lot of damage you can put up. As well as he has, when attacking, by deleting one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon, unsuspend this Digimon. For each of your Digimon, you can add 1 to the maximum level you can choose to delete with this effect. So with just the Fenrir Lugamon on board, when you swing, instead of deleting a level 3, you delete a level 4, and then you can unsuspend him. You have another Digimon 5, another one 6, and so forth, so you can get 2 checks in. Again, very powerful. But what makes this card insane is this effect. Your turn. The condition to end the turn becomes your opponent having 3 or more memory. So what this means is, normally, as soon as the memory goes from 0 to 1, your turn's over. But with this guy, it has to get to 3. So no matter what, your opponent is always going to leave you either at the very least 1, which technically means they're leaving you at 4 memory. The only downside is your opponent's always going to have at least 3 memory to work with the turn, but you always have 4, so you'll always be at advantage. This is such a crazy card. I mean, it's going to be crazy even for the format that we're currently coming into. So yeah, very, very good stuff. Now to wrap things off, we got the options, and there's a couple of good ones here. Starting off, we got Mega Flame. So for 4 costs, it's pretty cheap. Basically, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. And if you have Greymon named, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP instead. I think most people would probably pick the 6,000 DP or less effect over the lowest DP effect, but sometimes that might matter if they have something that's a stronger body on board, but it's the only Digimon they have. It can come up, but more or less, we're playing it because it is a cheap option that has a nice removal effect. I would only recommend playing this card if you do pull the Joe Kiddo, because you're going to get the most value out of it if you do play Joe. But Wave Variability is a 2-cost option that lets you trash 2 evolution cards from your opponent's Digimon. Then if you have Joe on board, you can choose one of your Digimon, and if your opponent doesn't have a Digimon with equal or more evolutions, you can unsuspend the Digimon. So potentially unsuspend Swing for Game in combination with stuff like Plesiomon or even something like Rosemon. This can be a great way to potentially get that even third check in and really, really put the pressure on your opponent. But again, play it if you have Joe. Up next, one of my favorite options of the set, Marching Fish. So for 3 costs, you can choose one of your Digimon and 3 of your opponent's Digimon with equal or fewer evolution cards than this chosen Digimon. Those Digimon cannot attack or block until the end of your opponent's turn. So that's a pretty powerful blanket freeze effect for 3 of your opponent's Digimon. If they can't do damage to you, they're not winning the game, and you're going to put yourself in a better advantage. And its security effect's really great too, because not only does it let you freeze one of your opponent's Digimon, doesn't even matter if they have more evolution cards than you, and then you get to add this card to your hand. So really powerful card and a very annoying card for your opponent to deal with. Heaven's Knuckle, and this is very similar to Mega Flame. We're going to ignore the second effect because Angemon is a secret rare in this set, and even if we did got lucky and pull it, I guarantee you probably wouldn't want to play it just because it's just way too specific for a standard build. You need something that actually works with it, and in this kind of like sealed formats, it's not going to work. But the choose one of the following effects. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 DP for the turn. So extra DP reduction, always good, potentially deleting something, and it can be a really great security bomb if you do end up hitting it in security. Poison Ivy. So for 1 cost, one of your opponent's Digimon gains all turns. When this Digimon becomes suspended, lose 2 memory until the end of your opponent's turn. So I know similar options that do these kind of effects don't do very well in pre-release formats. I know from experience. But I think what the saving grace of this card is it's only 1 cost. So at worst, it can be used as a choking tool to choke your opponent at 1. But I think it's nice to potentially lock out your opponent from doing more damage by just making opponent can't attack with that particular Digimon. So it is quite nice. And then to wrap off the options, we got Puddle Whack. And all Puddle Whack does is delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon, and it's very cheap at 3 costs. It does have the secondary effect. If it gets trashed, you can draw a card. There are some cards that may be able to proc this effect off, but more or less we are playing it just for the cheap level 4 or lower deletion. And with that, that's going to be the end of the guide, guys. I hope you found it informative. And as always, if you liked the video, don't forget to hit that like button, spread the good word by sharing the video, and most importantly, become a devotee by subscribing. Until next time, good luck, guys.